Hey guys, this is Ike with the Rollout Reviews, bringing you another LBX review. This time it is Danball Senki Wars Phantom. Now, Phantom is another unit affiliated with the virtual terrorists called Bandit. You really don't know who this belongs to in the first part of the series, but it's very apparent that it belongs to the main bad guy eventually. Let's take a look at the instructions here. Very intimidating looking. There he is, all painted up by a professional modeler. This does look quite a bit better than what you get straight out of the box, namely in the wings, which are supposed to be all gray or silver, and it's just all blue on the actual kit itself, unfortunately. Some more shots there. On the back you have a little comic here. Everyone startled and in awe of its appearance, I guess. The instructions are very easy to follow, full color. All these steps are very simply laid out, pretty easy to build as well, not very many sprues. So let's take a look at the kit in further detail. Now, Phantom is a pretty interesting looking LBX. He actually has his very own unique frame type called a ghost frame. Not only does he look very ghostly here when his wings are wrapped around him in this levitating mode, I guess, but he also literally has no feet. He's always levitating, he's always flying, and because of that, he needs this stand. It's all translucent orange plastic here. This is included. It has two modes, I guess. This is for when the wings are folded up and he's levitating, and you can actually slide this out here and bring it around like this. Makes the peg a little lower down, a little straighter upward, and has a lot more support back here because the wings are massive. Let's take a closer look at the LBX itself here. Lots and lots of plastic content here. He's really massive and very impressive in either of his modes. Let's just do a quick 360 here. He's got a lot of stickers, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they end up staying on very nicely and looking very cool. These orange sections are pretty much all stickers aside from these details here, which again isn't ideal, but it is what it is. He's actually tilted a little bit forward on the stand when he's in this mode. You can kind of bring the head up a little bit, but I guess it's just so he's like levitating around, floating, looking ominous over in the distance, as he does in this mode several times in the show. I really like this a lot. Again, you don't have a lot of display options when he's like this, but it does look very cool with this sort of around him, sort of a very Batman kind of thing. He's very bat-like in general with his ears up here. Taking a closer look, see his head is sort of just a big visor. I mean, overall, he's still quite detailed, especially back here. But, yeah, just interesting. So getting him into his big winged mode, you pretty much just unpeg the shoulder sections from down here, like that. And these shoulders do sometimes pop off when you're in the process of doing this, but kind of bring these down. They're on several joints, so they should be able to move out of the way pretty easily. Just like that, and then unfold the whole thing out like this. He's got also these little tiny things back here. They sort of look like smaller legs, sort of, but they just kind of sit back here, kind of like, they're kind of skirt armor, I guess. I don't know, they just kind of get in the way. But bring the wings all the way out. Sort of get him in a bit of a position that's more natural, I guess. And bring in the stand, switch it into the other mode. Plug that in, there's just a little hole right there. And there you go. Now, like I said, this guy just looks very, very impressive. He's got this massive wingspan, and he just looks intimidating. Again, he's the main bad guy's LBX, so that's very fitting, but just looks very, very impressive on the shelf. Really draws attention to him, this huge wingspan. So, articulation, again, it's very limited, and just the fact that he doesn't have any feet, you don't have a whole lot of options, but, I mean, he still has the ball joint in the head, forward and back, all the way around here. These come off a lot, like I said, and they really do hinder the shoulder articulation, but most of the time you're just going to have this guy on your shelf looking intimidating. So not too much of a problem. They do go in and out and forward and back, but you don't have very many options. The elbows bend 90 degrees, rotate, and they have a ball joint in the wrist. So, I mean, you have some movement, but it's very hindered by these shoulders, unfortunately. The waist rotates, but again, these little things get in the way sometimes. Don't really even know what those are for, but the waist does rotate. And then the legs are on ball joints here. They go forward and back. These little side skirt armor bits get in the way of the outward movement a little bit, and a little bit of the forward movement as well. But they are ball joints there. They rotate, they go forward and back, and the knees do bend. Obviously no foot articulation because he doesn't have any feet. The wings, first of all, the whole assembly is on a joint here, so you can get that out of the way however you'd like. The wings are on ball joints here and a hinge, so you can get them pretty much any which way you want. And then they're at a hinge here and here, so you can sort of do whatever you'd like with those. Most of the plastic in this guy, most of the plastic content is the wings, and most of the sprues are dedicated to building the wings. The ghost frame itself is actually very, very tiny in comparison to other LBXs. Here's a comparison with a fellow bandit member here, Gruzion. I think I was pronouncing it wrong in the review. I pronounced it Gruxion, but I think it's Gruzion. Either way, the ghost frame is actually quite small in comparison, but the wingspan really makes up for that in the size factor. It makes him, like I said many times before, look very, very impressive. Take a look at some of the details now exposed here. He has this orange bit in the chest. I really wish they sort of did the same thing they did in the head. He actually has a bit of shiny, like a shiny sticker underneath the visor there to really make that pop. I wish they would have done something similar here because it sort of is drowned out by everything around it, unfortunately. It's got some stickers in here, just stickers all over this guy, but they're not as intrusive as something like Valsparos. They're very tiny and don't tend to get in the way very often, and I haven't had any problems with them coming off. In the back here, this whole assembly really reminds me of the 00 riser from Gundam 00, the Gian riser. Sort of has like a cockpit kind of thing going on here, and it sort of just attaches to the back. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that's sort of what I see. Sort of a turbine there, some vents. Very cool looking. The one downside of this guy in his color scheme is, I mentioned it before, the wings. The insides of the wings are actually supposed to be entirely gray, and obviously it would have cost a lot more to actually make separate pieces to put in there, or just a giant sticker would be even worse to cover that up, make them gray. So on one hand, I'm glad they didn't do something like that, but on the other hand, taking some paint to this guy is something that you might want to do. Now, for accessories here, he comes with a hand that's much more expressive, and you can just replace that very easily. Just like that. And then the other accessory he comes with is his Demon's Lance, which is kind of this lightning bolt looking thing. Looks very cool. I like how the two sections here kind of intertwine. Sort of got a blade at the bottom. And he can hold this. You have to split it apart here. But just holds it like that. And once again, very intimidating. And I'll say it 12 times, and I'll say it once more after that. He just looks impressive. He's the centerpiece on my LBX shelf, and I think it's a rightful place for him because he looks awesome. He's definitely got some massive flaws, but I do really recommend this guy just for the reason that as of now, he is the LBX of the main enemy of the series, and having him next to Gruzion on the shelf is just a very cool duo. So that is about it, guys, and this is IX signing off.